In today's clip, I'm going to tell you 7 reasons why the personal finance media sources are almost entirely useless. Examples being CNBC and Yahoo, and to a lesser extent, PBS and NPR as well. Okay, but since I'm not just a hater, at the end of the video, I'll also tell you one trend published within these sources that actually does some good. Heyo, Zempak here. Okay, so today on this episode of Haterade, I'll give you 7 reasons why personal finance articles are just no good. Not helpful at all, okay? And I'm talking about what's considered legitimate news sources. And while I disagree with our orange douche of a president on almost everything that he's ever said, one thing I do agree with him on is some news sources are just fake, totally untrustworthy news. Here goes the list, okay? Number 1. On personal finance sites, almost every day or at least once a week, you see articles like so-and-so's top 5 stock pick, okay? I'm going to be generous and say every week that this happens, okay? So let's do a little bit of math. Let's say there's 50 working weeks within a year, even for publications. So top 5 picks every week times 50 equals 250 picks a year. Okay, assuming that there's some overlap, that maybe the picks between week 1 to week 20, there's some overlap. So let's just call it 100 stock picks a year. So if you go by this trend, within a decade, you'd have made 1,000 picks. That's way too much. If you're gonna buy 1,000 individual stocks, you might as well just go buy some index funds. Okay. Reason number 2, the same thing can actually apply to index funds and ETFs, okay? I see this constantly, people talking about, which index funds, which ETFs, or which closed-ended funds are the best. The main issue is that this is an oversupply of advice in an area that most people are already very confused about. Heck, if you're gonna go buy yourself a dozen or 2 or 3 or 5 of index funds or ETFs, why not just buy the total stock market and be done with it? That's just one fund, okay? You can go to Fidelity or Schwab or Vanguard or whatever and simply buy less than a handful of funds that would cover pretty much every stock on the planet, okay? Instead of listening to this ridiculous advice about picking multiple funds on a weekly basis, okay? Number 3, I see on personal finance websites about retirement advice. It's still a very consistent drive towards, hey, you need to save 10% or 50%. This sets the bar way, way, way too low, okay? This is terrible advice. This has put a ceiling on people, what they need to do to accomplish real freedom. 10 to 15% is not enough. I mentioned this in my optimal savings rate video. It's at least 50% and as high as you can get it. 10 to 15% is just, no wonder people do so poorly, okay? This is just not aggressive enough, right? Number 4, what I noticed, especially on websites, news sources, is this constant excuse making for millennials and soon enough for Gen Z, okay? Now, I believe in my generation. Honestly, all the articles that are of this type, millennials apparently can't afford houses, can't afford cars, can't afford weddings. Millennials apparently can't afford anything. And yet, somehow, some of us do really well, okay? Here's the thing. I get that not everyone's doing well. But this constant concentration on how poorly we're all doing, what purpose does that serve? Okay, what this is just perpetuating a victim mentality, and that's the mentality of losers. Okay, if you don't want to be a loser, don't fall into this trap. If you see a headline that talks about how millennials can't do anything, or Gen Zs have the worst luck because of the pandemic, or this type of article is completely not useful and run detrimental to the point of helping anyone with their personal finance. Okay. Reason number 5, okay, beyond individual picks and funds picks as well, there's constant emphasis in personal finance outlets about how the stock market is up today or down today, or one single stock outperformed today or underperformed on the week. I'm not even sure if this counts as reporting, okay? If that's reporting that every day you could have the same headline because on average, every day some famous stock is going to be up or down compared to the average, right? That's just how math works. To constantly talk about this is feeding into the narrative that you need to be constantly getting in and out of the market, which again, for somebody who knows anything about investing, that's not investing anymore. That's just speculation. How like any legitimate paper can keep putting out trash articles like this? Just incomprehensible to me, okay? Number 6, any article that I see on personal finance websites about best credit cards for gift guides. Wow, I don't. These are just seemingly they're just ads, okay? Compared to, Points Guy or YouTube credit card YouTubers, the level of research done for credit card articles is so superficial that I'm like I'm surprised anyone's getting paid to actually do this. Okay, this is where I think YouTube does a much more wonderful job than like big news outlets. And I feel bad that the majority of people, I'm sure, are still reading these terrible CNBC articles about how to get a credit card or what's considered a good rewards credit card. I mean, honestly, I'm ashamed for these media companies for putting out such drivel, right? And whoever is reading it and taking the advice is absolutely not getting optimal advice, okay? You could do some research, just go Google it and NerdWallet or Credit Karma. Any of these places will have better reviews than personal finance websites. And finally, reason number 7, the clickbaity titles, okay? I understand that, I can't be that judgmental because I'm making commentary on this stuff, right? The difference is I'm just one guy making an opinion piece, whereas these personal finance news sources are supposed to be, the standard bearers, right? This is where people go to get their advice, okay? And these days the line is so thin that it's hard to maintain any level of respect for the news sources. I'll give you a couple of examples, just glancing today through the headlines on these websites about, what type of titles is there that I immediately can tell will bring no value. Okay, so example number 1, I saw this one. Many Americans would rather skydive than retirement plan. What? What does this have to do with anything? Like, what does Adventure Time have to do with retirement planning? Don't understand. Okay, like it's a non sequitur. Headline number 2: majority of Americans have cried over money. Okay. Is this a therapy session or a personal finance article? Like, I don't understand what the purpose of such a title serves, except to make you think, oh wow, let's see how much people cry and make fun of them. This is ridiculous. And number 3, this is my favorite one. Retirement expert says people are spending too much money on stupid stuff. That's a real title for a personal finance article. How is this news? Okay, I don't. Oh my God, how does something like this get published? Because the fact that we spend money on stupid stuff, who doesn't know that at this point? If you're an American, I'm pretty sure. I mean, you've done it, I've done it. We spend money on dumb stuff. That's not news. It's not news today. It's not news 10 years ago. It's not news 50 years ago. How this gets published, I mean, I can't. I hope they're not paying whoever wrote this BS any money. Because I don't. Why would anyone even read this? It's not even a good clickbaity title. All right. Done with making fun of personal finance news sources, okay? I will mention this, the one good thing that I noticed about these websites. In recent years, they've put up profiles of early retirees and proponents of FIRE. In my opinion, these are the only people qualified to talk about personal finance, right? By these people, I mean, me included, okay? Compare these regular Joes with any financial advisor, or, I see they interview celebrities like Shaq about his investment strategy. I think people who achieved FIRE are much, much better qualified because their advice aren't biased and their experiences are actually relatable. Okay, no offense to Shaq. I'm sure Shaq has done wonderfully, but Shaq has also earned like $300 million or something ridiculous like that from 10, 15 years of work. As a pro basketball player and a celebrity. Is that any one of us? Like, have you been in commercials? If you've made $100 million being a celebrity, I'm not sure whether I should take your advice or give you advice on investments. Anyway, thanks for listening. Check out some of my other videos as well.